You're watching the Forefront Church video podcast, and wherever you're at viewing online, we just want to say thank you and welcome. And one of the ways that we can help connect with you is we want to hear from you and where you're at and how we can help. And so head over to forefrontchurch.info after the message and click the Connect tab. It's a great way for us to help you along your spiritual journey as you connect with God and learn about Jesus. And so sit back, relax. We hope that you're challenged and encouraged from today's message. Say hello to everybody who is watching on Facebook Live. We're glad you're tuning in with us. And while we have our online campus there, we always want to invite you to be a part here because as you can see, 10 a.m., how are we doing? They're excited, and we'd love to have you in the room because there's just something different to be able to be a part of what's happening. And I'm excited for today. It's a new year. It's a stronger you. And like we said last week, whatever transpired last year that you're just like, oh man, I am so thankful that last year is done, that we can move forward, and it is still a stronger you because whatever you made it through in 2019, it made you who you are today. And as we jumped into last week, we said, all right, as we deal and encounter with things where life's tough, we ask the question, do you fight, flight, and run, or do you freeze? And at every service last week, and for you guys even online, as you kind of threw the emojis in there, we saw that, people have the moments where they're just like freeze, and we had other people who are flight. I'm kind of one of those people on occasion. And then we asked, where are the fighters? Who are the fighters? And overwhelmingly, at every service, people are raising their hands, I'm a fighter. And, when we want to believe that. We want to believe we've watched the underdog stories. We've seen the Rockies and the Rudy, we're that person. That's what we believe. But the Association for Mental Health and Wellness would say that, well, that's not accurate. That studies would show that for the vast majority of people, that we are people who would flight, people who would run when we encounter something. We want to really believe that we're a fighter, but deep down, for many people, they get scared, overwhelmed, and compartmentalize and run. And so as we dove into week one and saw, all right, well, why does that happen? And how can we in the new year be individuals that when we trust God, when we encounter faith, that we would move in a direction that God calls us and not in one where we feel like we know better. And where we landed last week, our big idea for the week was don't try to outrun God's purpose for your life because it will be costly for you and everyone around you, everybody who is in your life, people that you encounter. And we saw this through the lens of this guy named Jonah. Jonah had been given this call by God, hey, I have a job for you, here's what you need to do. And we asked the question, how many of us would say yes if God asked us to do something? And the majority of people raised their hand. Well, all through the Bible, we see people who are asked by God to do something. And they go, yeah, I'm out of here. And it's exactly what Jonah did. Jonah ran. And we're going to pick back up where we left off last week with Jonah in chapter 1. And so if you have a Bible, you can turn over there. It's in the Old Testament of the Bible. For those of you guys who are digitally inclined, you guys watching online, you can use our .info page. That is where we say you can find everything, the place to go. Not only can you find the notes section that's there when you scroll, click on that. Every week we have that available where you can take notes and email that back to yourself. You can also connect and ask a question. You guys can add a DM there to our page in the comments. You can also go there, click on the chat bubble, fill out a digital card, and for those of you guys here live in service, if you don't have a Bible today, we want to give you one. And so make sure to stop by in the lobby. There's no catch. You don't have to fill anything out. That's your brand new Bible to be able to keep, take notes in, highlight, bring your new Bible back with you, because every single week we open up and look through the pages of God's story and go, God, how can we learn from you and learn from our mistakes and how to draw back to how you designed us to be? And that's the story that Jonah's on. Jonah's like, nah, I'm good. And we pick back up with him. He's been in a storm, and he ran from God, got on a boat. He's like, I'm out of here. I'm moving. But what did we talk about last week? We realized that if we are part of the problem and we leave to go someplace else, like maybe you move to a new state or you move to a new job, but if you're part of the problem, you just take your problems what? With you. Yeah. And so Jonah thinks that he's in the clear. He's like, all right, God told me to go there. That sounds bad. Those people are mean and evil. I know it doesn't end well when we go there. I'm going to go this way. And God goes, I see you wherever you go. Gets on the boat. Huge storm arises. Everybody on the boat's like, the only factor that's different about this storm and about what's happening is, I don't know, you. And so they ask Jonah, what is your problem? What have you done? Where are you from? What do you do? Something's not right here. And they decided, you know what? The best thing to do right now is to toss you overboard. That's a bad day. And we catch up with Jonah in verse 17 of chapter 1 and following. It says, now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. I'm going to pause right there. You guys tune in online, you guys here, there might be some of you that go, all right, time out. Can we talk about this big fish scenario that's taking place? This seems like maybe in your words, a whale of a tale. There's no way that this could take place. There's no way that this could happen. Jason, really? Like, I get that you believers, you Christians, you believe some pretty weird stuff. And if you're a Christian, you go, the Bible's not weird. Nothing's weird about the Bible. Why don't you pause? There are plenty of weird things. All of Christianity is based on the fact that God sent his son to die and conquer death for all of mankind. Okay? Think that out for a second. If Christianity is based on that truth, then we believe, as believers, we believe some things that are supernatural and take faith. And so if you're here this morning and watching online, you're like, I'm not sure about this, I want to give you a pass, a little exit ramp where you can still, even if you're like, I'm not sure about a guy being in the belly of a fish for 3 days. What happens to him in this moment of peril can still help you and still draw you closer to God, even if you're not sure about what transpired there. Here at Forefront Church, we take this story to be accurate because Jesus himself said it was accurate. Jesus himself said, you will see a sign, and he talks about the account of Jonah. And if we believe Jesus and what he said and how he lived, then we believe, if he believed it was true, then so do we. And so Jonah in this moment is feeling like it is awful, but anytime we're in an awful spot, we go, God, if you'll just help me, if you'll just do this, if you'll just show up, then I promise I'm going to show up to church on Sunday. And maybe that's some of you. Maybe you guys online, you go, God, if this comes through, I'm going to tune in. And if I tune in today, God, then everything will be fine. Jonah has one of those moments, and it continues on in chapter 2, following that verse. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord, his God. He said, in my distress, I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead, I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the depths, into the very heart of the seas, and the currents swirled around me, and all your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me, and the deep surrounded me. Seaweed wrapped around my head. And so the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me forever. But you, Lord my God, brought my life up out of the pit. That's why we say here that God doesn't take broken things and repair them. God takes dead things and makes them alive. That you and I are spiritually in detriment and dead until we meet and encounter and believe in the beauty that is the life, teachings, and movement of Jesus. It says, when my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord. I bet you did. And my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple, to those who cling to worthless idols, turn away from God's love for them. Now he's pointing the finger at everybody else. But I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you what I have vowed I will make good. I will say salvation comes from the Lord. Basically saying is, God save me, and I'll say you saved me. Oh, good job. I bet you will say that, stuck in that situation. And that's a prayer that many people pray. I feel like I'm down and out and nothing could get worse. God, please. God, for the love of all that is holy and true, if you would just save me in this moment, then I will say that you are good. See, Jonas is praying this prayer, and it's one that many people since then have prayed. God, I'm in trouble. Will you help? And what we get to learn in this moment of runaways is that God always hears the prayers of mankind. The question is, will we trust him and take him at his word? So we're going to look at today. I want to pray for us as we continue. I want you to pray with me. God, I thank you for today. I thank you that you love us. May we always put our trust in you. And no matter how much things mount and things get difficult, that we will not run away from what is true about you and your love. It's in the name of your Son, Jesus, we pray. Amen. You know, we talk about this, and we love the fact that we're able to connect online. We only have an hour here together, and then we have 167 other hours throughout the week. And so we use social media to be able to drive home some of these truths. And one of the posts that we had this last week on social media was this little sketch of mountains and says, tell your mountain about God. And, you know, whatever mountain you're facing, tell it how big God is. The old adage, and it's been attributed to many different people, says, instead of telling God how big your problems are, that you would go to your problems and tell them how big your God is. That no matter what we're encountering, no matter what we're facing, that we would say, God, you are the one in control, and I know who to trust. And the reality of runaways is we have to ask ourselves a very simple question. Do you trust that God will never leave you hanging? Do you really? And to be able to illustrate this, I promise I will not embarrass you. I need a volunteer. And so immediately you threw your hand up. You were like, I'm ready to do this. She's seen before that people have gotten gift cards and things. That is not happening today, by the way. Give it up for our volunteer here. And so just introduce to everybody who's watching online, whatever, step up to the microphone and put it. You're Nana. Okay, all right, and so we're friends on Facebook, and so I see some posts of you and your family and everything. You got some good stuff going on. I'm going to ask you this question. Do you trust that God will never leave you hanging?
Most of the time.
Most of the time? Okay, so you're still processing that. I would ask you, and so you're asking about trust, I would ask you, do you trust me?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll work on the whole, like I hope one day, that was a long pause. So I want you to see, I have some cups here, and we're going to work this through. I got a couple, we'll just grab a couple of these cups, and this is just a normal bottle of water. I want you to see it, touch it, feel it. You can even open it if you want to see. You can crack it open. That's there, because we're going to need that there. You can see that it is indeed water. There's nothing special. Do you want to take a sip of it, just to be sure? You're good. Okay. And so I'm going to take a couple cups here. These are just the coffee cups that are in the lobby. See you guys online. You missed the free coffee. And I'm just going to give a little bit of water in this cup and a little bit of water in this cup. And so, gave it even amount. I need you now to stick so we're going to stand. I need you to stick one arm out in front of you. So you can kind of take a little step. All right, that's good. And I have a cup and you have a cup, okay? And so you can feel that there's water in there, or just poured water. All of us have seen. You inspected the water. We have all that. There's water inside of our cups. I need you to just take your cup and put it on top of your head. Now, I'm going to still ask you the question. No, you can hold it. You're
okay.
a bouncer. Whoa, that's...
I'm a princess.
You got real brave. I did not see this going that way. And so you have this. I need to ask you again, do you trust me?
Yes.
Okay, so we're getting there. Hopefully that you can have the same trust in God that you do in me. Feel a little weird and a little pressure here. So what I'm going to ask you to do at this moment is I'm going to slide this microphone up a little bit so that way you don't hit it. I need you to face the audience. And now what I'm going to ask you to do in this moment is to close your eyes.
Okay.
Keep your eyes closed. And no matter how you want to turn, clockwise or counterclockwise, that may have thrown you for a loop even in your own mind, there you can take 2 slow rotations around. And our audience is going to give us a little Jeopardy theme music. Here we go. Ba-na-na. Now you can go ahead and do your 2 slow spins, keeping your eyes closed. Ba-na-na-na. All right.
That was 2.
Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. All right, you guys are good. You guys are good. And so you can open your eyes, keeping your cup there. I will ask you once more, do you trust me?
Yes.
Okay. I need you to pour your cup of water on your head.
On my head.
See, I do have a problem with stuttering on occasion, but I'm gonna say it. You know what? Or if you're scared, why don't we trade? Do you want to trade? Is that what you want? Do you trust me? See, now you're unsure.
No.
Do you want to keep your cup or do you want to trade?
I'll trade.
You'll trade.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll trade. You put it on there. I want you to pour your cup on top of your head. See, so you got a little drop.
What? How the
Thank you so much for helping out. Give it up for her. I'm not giving away my secret. Actually, the water is still very much there. You actually wouldn't have gotten wet at all if you had trusted me. You see, when we encounter God and we really trust Him, we will do things even if it doesn't make sense. You see, Jonah was given the possibility of, you can go and thrive in how I designed you. You know that I love you. But you can have this exponentially beautiful life if you do as I say. And for every single one of us, we want that type of life. That no matter what God says, that we'll obey because we could see, and we said this last week, that joy is on the other side of obedience. That God, I will trust you, not even when it doesn't make sense. Because I know that you will never leave me hanging. And we see that in other people's lives and we go, what is that? Is there a magic formula that somehow, some way, that if I could just get that down, that everything would be great? And I want to let you know that it's not some crazy big formula. It's not something that's overwhelming. It is very, very simple. Here it is. The closest to Jesus are not there because of how much they love Him, but because they know of how much He loves them. You see, the people that you and I encounter that are just amazingly thriving in how God designed them, it is not because somehow, some way, their love has overbounded and it just is the weird, like they got the it factor. No. Each and every one of us have the opportunity to thrive in how God designed us to be when we can believe the reality that God is the one who loves us so deeply above all else and created us and saves us. You see, when you and I get to that point with God, everything begins to change. When we get down on ourselves, we can't believe at all that I can make it to the next thing. And God goes, you know what? I sent my Son so that you don't have to be the one to get it all together. I will help you and cover you. He will be the one that is your support. He will be the one that helps you in that next moment. And I know the reality, and I want to encourage you to trust in the reality, to make the next thing the best thing with Jesus as what? The only thing. You see, when Jesus is the focal point of your life and mine, everything begins to change. And don't be down on yourself. Because you go, oh, well, yesterday I was really good at this whole Jesus thing and following Him and trusting Him, but today it was a little bit of a nail biter. There were moments that I wasn't sure. Somebody I encountered was hurtful. They made me, and they go, ooh, and I wanted to run. I almost lost my Jesus. Things weren't good. Don't be down on yourself because each and every one of us are in process. I love the way that Erwin McManus, he's a pastor in California, puts it. He says, we are all hypocrites in transition. Next time somebody says, I don't go to church because the church is full of hypocrites, go, yep, I am too. Come on. So are you. Every single one of us. We say one thing and we do another because all of us make mistakes. But I love the way he puts it. I am not who I want to be, but I am on the journey there, and thankfully I am not who I used to be. You see, for many of us, we are like Jonah, and we see a call by God to do something great, to encounter something that's hard, to do something that's out of our comfort zone, and we go, I'm not good enough, I don't want to do it, I know a better way, let's run. And you see, Jesus has already covered every bit of your hurt, pain, and shame, and equipped you to be the person he designed you to be. And we need to trust in the transition, in the process, and trust God with the rest of it. You see, in Jesus, you are not the past you, unless you insist on bringing the past you with you. And for many of us, we do. We go, God, I'm so good. I'm going to go to church. Everything's going to be great. And then God makes us new. He takes dead things, makes it alive. And we go, I'm just going to pack this extra bag of the old me. And I'm going to carry it wherever I go. And I'm going to have this baggage that goes with me to every place. And people go, oh, I'm seeing glimpses of the old you. I go, I don't know what you're talking about. I follow Jesus. I made new. I go, but what's that bag behind you? We go, what are you talking about? Stop looking there. Just deal with what's right here. We go, no. You have brought your old self with you. Jesus already covered it and made it new. There is no sense in bringing the past you along. Trusting Jesus in the process. And Jonah finally relents. It only took 3 days in the belly of a fish in the dire moment to go, all right, God, time out, you win. I'll follow you. And for many of us, we've done this. God, this is hard. I don't know what to do. I feel like there's no hope. I'll pray, and then I'll follow you, and then I'll go to church, and I promise I'm going to read my whole Bible this year. And I promise I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and get real close with God. We made all of those commitments because if you would just get me out of this. And Jonah really believed it, though, and he prays the prayer, and what happens to him? And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. Hopefully that doesn't ruin your lunch. He said, all right, I've heard your prayer. Jonah trusted and God provided. And if you're a runner, you're somebody who doesn't you compartmentalize, ignore, push it away, I'll deal with it later. You've dodged. You are better than anybody that is in the movie Dodgeball. You have just shucked and jived, and you have put away all that stuff because you believe you know better and you're not dealing with it. I want you to hear this, that God hears you. He saves you. And he creates space for you to obey him, even in your lowest moments, even in the moments where you feel like there is no hope at all, even in the moments where God asks you, do you trust me? We go, I think so. He goes, then do as I said. We're like, can it be tradesies? Can we do something else? Can I get their cup? Because their cup looks like less. He goes, do you trust me? He has not given up on you, and I want to encourage you to stop running. Because you may have looked at somebody else's life and go, ooh, that life looks real good. I would totally trust God if he gave me that life. If my life looked like that and everything, and I had the relationships and the family and the job and whatever, the house, you name it, then I would follow him. But until then, I'm going to keep running because I don't have the life that I want. I want you to know that every family has disappointments, every family has hurt. Any person that you've ever looked at and go, I wish I had their life, if you pulled back the curtain and looked behind the scenes, they have plenty of brokenness and hurt and shame and regret and all those pieces. But I want you to realize this and to remember it, that joy is on the other side of obedience, just like we looked at last week. In those promises where God delivered them, if God did it for them, he'll do it for you. There's not a little thing where God goes, all right, I have these promises for some of you guys, but the rest of you guys, I have some of these over here, but they're not as good. They're consolation prizes. He goes, no, that when we follow him, that he honors our faithfulness. We are loved by him. His promises are true, and we are made in his image, the pinnacle of his creation, and he cares for us. As you begin to open up the Bible and read, you'll see in portions of the Old Testament and the New Testament of the Bible. It says God cares for the birds of the air. He cares for the animals of the field. He even cares for the grass and the flowers. How much more would he care for and protect and cover and love and just abound in beauty and honor you and I, the pinnacle of his creation? D.L. Moody puts it this way when it comes to God's promises. God never made a promise that was too good to be true. There's not a single moment that we read and open up and hear from God and we go, I don't know about that. No, every single moment is true. That God the Creator is looking out for you and I, says, I love you. Oh, well, you don't know where I've been. He loves you. You don't know what I've done, what I'm in right now. He loves you. You don't know about my disbelief. You don't know about my wrestling with this stuff. God, Jason, you don't even know. He loves you. You don't know about my relationships that are broken, my marriage that's dissolving, my kids that have run off. He loves you. There is no disaster and hurt and pain that you can go through that God would go, oh, well, not that. He loves you. And he promises to care for you. And I don't know where you're at in life, how much, for some of us who are older, we're starting to get forgetful. There's things that I am continually forgetting things, but there's some early memories as a kid. One of my earliest memories was going to the hospital when my brother was born and being very mad at my mom because she had been gone for a few days, and I wanted my mommy. I was a mama's boy, and being mad. And I was around 2 or 3 years old. A vivid memory that I remember was when I was about 5. And we went to the commissary, the Navy commissary, which if you want to get a glimpse at what hell might be like, go there on a payday. And so we were a military family. We went to the commissary, and we were there doing our thing. I was about 5 years old. And at the time, the hot toy that I loved and enjoyed were these guys. And some of you guys who are old enough to remember these wrestling figures. If not, you can go on Netflix. There's the toys that made us. There's a whole thing about these guys. And I had this one. I had a bunch of them. We had the ring, and we do whatever. And they're pliable. You can bend them around. But one of them in particular was Hulk Hogan. Yeah, brother. And I would carry him around everywhere as a kid and just grab him by the foot and bring him to the store, bring him to, my mom would have to go to the bank and go in. And all the place we would go, I'd carry around my little Hulk Hogan toy. The only problem was, my most vivid memory was, kids are forgetful. If you're a parent and your kid wants to bring something in the store, no. Like, the answer is always no. Because the one time they lose it will be the time that ruins their life and yours. And we were in the commissary one day, and we walked in, and I was a kid who had a toy, and we get almost to the end, and it dawned on me, where's Hulk? Where's Hulk Hogan? And I told my mom through tears, we've lost Hulk Hogan, which is not a sentence that you expect your kid to say. We've lost the Hulkster. And so my mom, I vividly remember her saying to me, I promise we'll find him. Which, as a parent, that's a dangerous promise. Because there's no way, and you know what kids do? They'll set a toy down, they'll look, ooh, Captain Crunch. I really want my mouth to be cut up at breakfast time. Set them down, pick them up. You go over and you see juice boxes. Yeah, I want all the juice. You go through all the stuff. Well, what my mom didn't know is that as kids, my brother and I, anytime we went to the grocery store, you go buy the grapes and they're just out there. How weird is that? How weird is it that it's snack time? And so we would always eat the grapes. Also, we'd throw them over the aisles and hear people yell, but it's a different story for another day. And so, sure enough, we trail our back through and we find the Hulkster in with all of the grapes. And lo and behold, we get him. My mom delivered on the promise. And we had him, so thankful. We got him. And it was so cool that she was able to say, I promise we'll find him. But you know what? As much as I love my mom and dad, there have been plenty of moments where they broke their promise. And I'm willing to wager that if you've encountered, people, that there have been individuals who have promised you things, and have you always had everybody deliver on their promise? Yes or no? No. Every one of us has encountered a moment where someone has promised something and they didn't deliver. Now, while my parents were always amazing at being able to deliver on a lot of promises, there were times where they didn't deliver. I'm still waiting for my light bright. It never came, ever. I asked all the time. I know. I bought one for myself as an adult, but I know, weird, whatever. But I never got it. They never delivered. But my love for them didn't change. Here's what I love about God, is that there's never been a single time that God hasn't delivered on his promise. Not once. In all of my years of following God, have there been times where I've been frustrated with him? Sure. Have there been times where I prayed, God, do this because I was really selfish and I wanted it my way? Yes. Did God always answer my selfish prayer the way I wanted to? No. But God never let me down. And his promises always rang true, even in the moments where life didn't seem to make sense. And I love that I get to hold to truths like this one. This is my comfort in my affliction, that your promise gives me what? Life. Your promise gives me life. He is caring for you. And maybe you need to hear this for the first time ever, or maybe for the first time in a long time, that God's comfort gives you courage to face challenges. The things that you're running from, the things that you're terrified, the conversation that you know you need to have with a family member, because I'm sure we all have a family member that needs that conversation. Maybe we're the family member that someone needs to come to have that conversation. The situation in your relationships that's going awry, and you just go, I'm going to want to compartmentalize, I don't want to deal with it, I want to run, that you face it, that God's comfort, that his promises give you and I the courage to face those challenges. Stop running. Stop running from the things that God desires for you to tackle. It's in those moments of hardship, in those moments where you and I go, I'm unsure, where we go, God, you told me to what? Like, huh? No, I can't do it that long. I'm scared. That, God, you just pour, what? That doesn't make sense. You know what they did? You know what they said to me? You know how much they hurt me? God, what, forgive them? Are you serious? Can't you bring lightning down on them? Fire? Don't take down their whole house, maybe just a room. Do something. God, you want me to what? Yeah. I've comforted you. You have the courage to face it. Do you trust me? You see, God hears your prayers. He hears you. He has sent Jesus to save and cover every single one of us. He has created space for you and I to thrive in how he designed us. And on top of all of that, even at our lowest point, and you know where that's at. You know where you've been. You maybe even know where you're at right now. You go, man, there's no way that comeback story ends with me and God. And he goes, just watch. Do you trust me? You see, God has your best interest at heart. He is not running away from you. He is active in the moments that you're having right now. He always has been. Do you trust him? Because I can promise you this, because it's a promise of God, that when you trust him and when you follow him with every part of who you are, sometimes that means rock bottom moments like Jonah's. When we call out to him and we follow him, he promises we will not be disappointed. What will you do? Because that choice is yours.
Thanks for tuning in to the Forefront Church video podcast. Our hope and prayer is that this has left you encouraged and challenged you in your faith. And you might have some questions and some ways that you want to figure this out, and we want to help with that. Head over to forefrontchurch.info, and there's a couple different ways that you can connect. Click the Connect tab and let us know how we can be praying for you, or a staff member can be contacting you this week. Maybe you have just been encouraged by this and want to support the ministry here at Forefront Church. You can click the Giving tab, as well as other tabs that are in there to help you along in your journey with God. And so we're thankful for you. Thanks for tuning in, and we cannot wait to see you again here online on the video podcast. We love you, and we'll see you then.